Hello, ladies and gentlemen, back again with another instructive chess video here. I hope you've been enjoying my channel. This game right here from 1992 Bill Tournament with the white pieces, we have none other than the 12th world champion Anatoly Karpov. And if you don't know who that is, you're new to chess, right? Because if you're playing a while, you know that Karpov was one of the great champions, one of the greatest players of all time. Definitely in everyone's top 10, if not top 5. He's in my top 5 for sure. Three-time Soviet champion. Um, he played uh, for the World Chess Championship, and I'm not even counting when FIDE parted with Kasparov, or Kasparov parted with FIDE. But after becoming champion, after Fischer abdicated his title or abandoned it, or whatever words you like to use, he defeated Viktor Korchnoi twice, 1978 and 1981. Those are two world championship matches. Then played the young Garry Kasparov in 1984, and at one point being up 5-0, needing only 6 games to win. Unfortunately, his health uh, gave out on him pretty much, and with the match being 5-3 with Karpov leading, the match was abandoned in a rather controversial manner. And after that, I believe Kasparov learned a lot from that match. And although they were close rivals, I mean their record. If you look at their match record between them games, they played over 100 and I believe 30 games or something like that, 140. And I mean it's probably a 1 or 2 game difference, win loss between them. So very strong rivalry between Karpov and Kasparov. He played him in '84 for the World Championship, 1985 in a rematch where Garry Kasparov becomes the youngest World Chess Champion. 1986, very close match. Again, Kasparov wins. 1987, the match was actually drawn. Karpov just needed a draw in game 24, and he would have won the title back. But he lost the last game uh, to Kasparov in the English. And remember, and then in 1990, so that is what 7 times he's played fought for the world title. And that's not counting his again when he became the FIDE world champion after Kasparov left, where he defeated who was it? I believe he believe was it Kamsky, and he also beat Anand in I think one of those like FIDE knockout scenarios or something like that. But yes, Karpov was a definitely great champion. With the black pieces we have Kurt Hansen, a little bit less known player. Uh, so Kurt Hansen is from Denmark. He's 55 years old now. Very strong player. He came to prominence because he beat the greatest Danish player, Bent Larsen, at the time in a rapid match. That kind of brought him to prominence in Denmark. You know, they knew there was a new star on the horizon. And so Kurt Hansen went on to win 3 Danish championships in a row from 83 to 85, and also was the world junior champion in 1984. All right, and he was the first Danish player to eclipse Bent Larsen's rating. Bent Larsen was had been like the strongest Danish player of all time, and then Kurt Hansen eclipsed that, I believe, in 1992. It was, and since then, I believe he's been superseded by Peter Hein Nielsen as the strongest Danish player. So here it is. Here's our position today. Again, Karpov with the white pieces, Hansen with the black pieces. And let me ask you guys this: what stands out? Oh, it's white to move, by the way. What stands out about this position right away? Like the first thing. Well, I'll tell you what stands out to me. what stands out to me is I noticed that all of Black's pieces are on the king side of the board. Everything is on the right side of the board. For the most part, Whites are too, except that knight on A3. Okay, so we can see this bishop right here on G7 is pretty bad, right? No future here. The king is here on E7, so the bishop really has no way out here, right? It's gonna take time, right, to fix this bishop, right? Again, if the bishop was on H6, still no future. So this bishop is in dire straits, okay? So you talk about out of the game, it's out of the game. Um, let's take a look at this knight. Again, another bad piece. Like, what in the world is this knight doing over here? Again, it's going to take time to get this knight back into the game. And there's an old chess saying, right? Knight on the rim is dim. Karpov's knight is not too good either. All right? But these two pieces stand out to me in this position. This one and this one. Goodness gracious. Right? These are bad, some bad pieces. It's going to take time to fix them up. Now, Hansen's knight here is very good. This is his best piece in the position, right? Firmly entrenched on F4, where it radiates into the whites king side here. Okay, of course it can be exchanged. That's an idea. But once you exchange this knight, it's white who really comes out on a losing end of the stick here, or the short end of the stick, because first of all, he gives up the bishop pair, which is wonderful to have. Right? He has the bishop pair, and he would open up this diagonal in the exchange. So this bishop that we that we made fun of, all of a sudden will become very powerful. So just thinking of those things right in consideration, uh, there's no way that we should be trading that bishop for the knight on F4. So that that is good for black in a way, because this powerful piece gets to stay here. So that's pretty good. But this knight all alone here is not really enough to give any type of advantage or uh, do that much good for black. So I guess what I'm getting at is black doesn't have any harmony in the position. The pieces aren't working together. This knight is doing a great job here, but where's it? Where's the help in the position? All right. Pawn structure is not bad. Let's look at Karpov's side. Now, again, as we mentioned earlier, Karpov has a bishop pair. And although his pieces, for the most part, on the king side, the advantage of the bishops is that they're long-range pieces. So this bishop is very good as it cuts through the black territory. And this bishop is also very good as it cuts through the territory. And notice this pawn is ready to advance when needed to attack on the queen side. So although the bishops, right, are in air quotes far away from the action, they're powerful long-range pieces. So therefore, it doesn't matter that they're far away. All right. So what I'm saying is Karpov's pieces, although they're far away, they still influence the game, whereas black's pieces are totally shut out. This bishop on G7 has no influence. Neither does this knight on H7. Again, Hansen's only good piece is on F4, and although it exerts influence, it's not enough. It needs help. Let's go to the elephant in the room here for Karpov, which is this knight here. Terrible knight. Again, on the rim, just as bad as this one. At least I can say for this knight, at least is attacking something, right? For goodness sake, it can support this push. All right, there's a little bit of positivity there. Okay, but looking at the knight, like objectively, right, it's pretty bad. Uh, how would you get this knight into the game? Perhaps, I don't know, C2, maybe move this guy out the way, maybe come here, but again, there's really no future after that on these squares for a knight, right? You see the pawns kind of um, slow down everything. Another idea, of course, is knight b1, knight d2, and of course a move like knight b3, again with the idea of planting here. And you can see that it takes time to do those things. By this time, of course, perhaps the king would move, the bishop will come here to f8 and make some exchanges, right? This knight could get back in the game via f8, perhaps go to e6 again, make exchanges here, and then the game probably would fizzle out, or maybe black would be able to stir something up. But it looks like it would be pretty drawish uh, here. So Karpov, uh, again, is still at the height of his powers in 1992. Very, very, still very strong. I think he was ranked number 2 in the world here. Um, he makes a fantastic assessment of the position, and here he plays the move knight takes b5. All right, he realizes the same things that I just pointed out and more, of course, that these pieces are bad, but if given time, they will be able to get involved in the game, right? He realizes that this knight, again, is bad and that it's going to take too much time going to B2, D2, B3, etc., C5. And so what he does is he calculates and exploits the position of the black pieces, and he uses the power of these long range bishops. See how everything just automatically opens up. C takes b5. If A takes b5, then there's a problem stopping that outside passer. A6, knight e6, for example, with the idea of coming here to stop the pawn. But then bishop b6 throws a monkey wrench. Again, the long range power of the bishops. Now this knight is stopped, and there's nothing to stop this pawn. So after knight takes b5, c takes b5. But Karpov had another trick up the sleeve. Bishop takes b5. Okay, now we have 2 pawns for a bad piece. Not a bad deal. Hansen played knight g5, desperately trying to get his piece back in the game. Of course, he has this threat, but it's not really a big deal to Karpov. The main idea is to get the pieces back in the game by coming to e6 and to try to put the brakes on these pawns. Now, you might say, well, why not a takes here? A takes b5. Well, the problem is the same. A takes b5, and the pawn is off to the races. Remember, one of the main ideas is that these pieces are too far away from the queen side to be effective. So after say knight e6, again with the idea of stopping the pawn via c7, then bishop b6, again controlling. All right, so you can see how powerful these bishops are in these positions. So bishop takes b5, so knight g5. And now we can see Karpov has full compensation for the pawn now. Excuse me, for the knight. 3 pawns for the knight. All right. So now Hansen rushes to try to stop these pawns. So knight g e6, bishop c4 by Karpov. Of course, just simply clearing the way. King gets over. d8, a6. King c8, b5. Simple plan, right? Just push the pawns. Bishop f8. Again, now the idea is to put a piece on c5. Remember, see how now finally black has unraveled his pieces? But it took him 6 moves to do it. And then 6 moves, white has made a lot of progress and the position has become critical. b6, bishop c5, and now bishop d5. Again, it's all about the promotion of these pawns here. And now knight takes d5, e takes d5, and now bishop takes e3 by Hansen, and it looks like he should be able to stop the pawns. But Karpov has a beautiful in-between move, b7 check. If you get lazy in the position and play f takes e3, then knight c5, attacking this pawn, and there's no way to promote these pawns. So, for instance, if this pawn is pushed forward, for example, then you could just simply go here and the pawns will be stopped now. All right. Even in this position, white can still probably draw, but you didn't sacrifice your piece to get this far and then just end up with a draw. So you still have to be careful here. So after bishop takes e3, this is why Karpov threw this in between check in here, b7, and then he leaves the bishop, the king c7, and now he takes the knight away. So the problem here is the bishop is still attacked. So d takes e6. Of course, if he loses the bishop, then the game is just over. So he plays bishop c5. And the idea is Hansen is trying to use his bishops to guard everything. But there's an old theme that we learned early on when we're studying tactics as a beginner, and it's called the overworked piece. And that's the problem here. And this is why after e takes f7, Hansen resigned, because there's no way to stop everything. No way to stop all these pawns. White is in a type of, black is in a type of zugzwang here. All right, he can't really move the bishop away from the guardianship of this square, and he can't move the king away. Okay, so what happens is that while these two pieces are stuck, the white king will just have a king march into position. So I'll give you an example line again, a sample line. Sorry. So after e takes f7, Hansen resigned. So here's a sample line. So king b8, for example, king f1, king a7. And say he just he shuffles back and forth. Again, if black tries to capture this pawn, then that's gonna queen. All right. And again, this bishop is not in a position to guard both squares. So if the king were in a position to capture this pawn, then the b pawn would sacrifice itself. The bishop would be forced off of the a3 to f8 diagonal, and this pawn would queen. So this is why I say black is in a form of zugzwang, where he would just have to start giving up pawns. So let's say in this sample line again, black is just shuffling back and forth, and the king is just free to just do what it wants to do. And notice I didn't even snatch the pawn in the variation. King, a bishop f8, c6, bishop e7, a7. You sacrifice the pawn. King c7. Of course, now you're just threatening simple promotion. And this is what I'm talking about. This bishop is useless. You can't stop both pawns. So he would just have to give up, sacrifice himself. King d8, and then that pawn would promote. So that was it. Hansen had resigned after that after e takes f7 right here. I hope you enjoyed that game. Let's wrap it up and conclude. Like what are lessons can we take from that? Well, bad pieces. Bad pieces when your opponent has all his let's go back to the starting position. When your opponent has a bunch of pieces on one side of the board like that, and they're bad, right? Out of the game, right? Be on the lookout for such opportunities. This is like a perfect storm that Karpov had. Like just having these bishops here, and just trying to figure out a way. How can he, use these bishops, right, to their full potential? He had a bad piece, and he said, you know what? these three pawns, right, are definitely worth this knight that isn't doing anything in the position. Um, right. Another thing to think of also and keep in mind is that time is very important in chess. All right. Like Karpov could have went the slow route and, for example, knight b2, knight, trying to repurpose this piece. But while you're doing that, so is the opponent, right? So while you're doing that, who's to say who's to say that black can't do the same thing? I'm just making up some lines, but who's to say that black can have the similar ideas here, you know? So instead of a position like that, where it's kind of like maybe handshake coming soon or just a long drawn out game, taking advantage of the position right as it is immediately is what Karpov did, and he was able to get a beautiful win out of the position. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I love hearing your comments. Please tell me what you think below. Suggestions, or if you want me to look at certain end games, things like that. Uh, that sure are definitely welcome. Check the links below. Please support my channel. Please donate to my channel if these videos have been helpful to you. Also, I am on Live Chess. Same name is on YouTube, Chess Audiobooks. I play only 1 minute games. Um, so if you want to play, you can challenge me on there. What else? Yeah, there's some video links below, DVDs on the end game and such. I always suggest to study the end game as much as possible, as the theory does not change at all. Um, and what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I can remember for now. So I hope again that you like and subscribe, hit the thumbs up and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys on the next video.